Where's my Ada video? Here, we're making the Ada video now. Alright, let's talk about Ada Wong. So, first things first, we did have a little bit of like assumption before, but uh, they did, we did make a mistake on that assumption because, to be fair, it was kind of called already. It's the same kind of wording with Crown, right? Those who previously casted Burst. But basically, it's only those units that casted Burst during that current full burst rotation. Those are the ones that will get the buff. Now, here's the thing, right? It did mention on the skill all burst 3 stage allies. So the thing is, all in that assumption, I was thinking, wait, maybe it also counts like the previous burster from the previous rotation. No, it's only the current rotation. So that means that it is mainly just the current burst stage 3. Now, here's the funny thing. Rapi Red Hood, if she ends up being the burst one on that, she is still considered as burst 3, even though that she end up being casting as burst 1. So you would end up having two units that would get the buff. That also opens a possibility of re-enter burst stage 3 because of just the way this wording is. I don't know, but maybe there is a re-enter burst stage 3 eventually in the future, and that would actually greatly benefit on this. But yeah, the biggest thing that I thought was gonna be about her is the skill one, the buff, but as it turns out, it is a bit of half effective as I was expecting. So basically, if you burst with Cindy, only Cindy gets buff. And then if you burst with Anise, and then like Ada is on the other side of the third burst, or third B3, then only the one that bursted will get that. So unfortunately, and because of that, what I thought that she would do more damage is she was not. She didn't beat Summer Anise and Maiden combo with Cindy. And I tried testing it with Rouge and Mari. That team did 33.3 bill, and Cindy did 60.2. Anise did 6.2. Sorry, I'm still sick right now. I replaced Anise and then put in Ada. They did 30.4, so it was like a 10% less damage. Cindy did less damage. Ada is, I would say, plus or minus. If my Ada was like similarly invested as my Summer Anise, they're probably gonna be close to their own damage. But the thing is, like, even then, her buffing capability is weaker than Summer Anise just because of that fact that this doesn't always like trigger all the time. So because of that fact, yeah, Maiden does less damage. Cindy does less damage with Ada in there, unfortunately. But in terms of damage, I would probably say she would be either slightly weaker or slightly roughly similar to Anise. Um, anyways, and then I tried to replace Maiden instead, and so with Anise in there, again, similar thing on this is electric advantage. Cindy did less damage than when Maiden was there, and then Anise did surprisingly did a bit more damage. Yeah, and that's probably because like Anise does have a little bit of damage buff from herself, elemental damage from her bursting. So the attack buff, I guess, kind of made her deal a little bit more damage on it. But even then, I still did less damage like overall because if Ada is off burst, like you're comparing like, oh yeah, sure, Anise did more damage, but the third burst, the thing is like Maiden as a third burster is just too good because of how Maiden works, where you can keep stacking it and then just only do the final burst at the tail end, right? So Maiden, so still, right now, Ada doesn't really replace the number one electric team combination with Cindy, Anise, and Maiden. And then this one, I tried testing it with Ada bursting instead, and Anise not bursting, but still, it still fails to surpass these three combo. Now, okay, sure, in the elemental advantage, maybe that was weaker because Maiden is like usually just really good, right? She has elemental damage buff. Now, would that be better still in neutral? Because like you know how often we tend to use like electric team. For a lot of you, you could use electric team. Is that even better still? So I tried testing it. Rouge, Mari, Cindy, Anise, Maiden, uh 14.7 bill, but the thing is like it's in the same way as the previous one still. I replaced Anise, replaced Maiden, roughly 13.4, 13.1 bills still total. So it still hasn't beaten the Anise Maiden combo. So, kind of like the running setup right now is she does not replace the strongest electric team combination right now, from what it seems like. Now, I tried to change it up a little bit, and okay, since Cinderella and Anise and Maiden doesn't really work because, like, you know, it has Rouge in it, let's try a different one. Let's try putting in Rapi because Rapi does benefit on having Ada in it. Because, like, if you use Rapi as B1, she will get Ada's buff still, and then Ein, which is also a DPS that has true. Excuse Ein has a DPS that has true damage and electric, right? So that team is Rapi, Crown, Ein, and then I tried to put in Anise and Baden in there. So instead of like using uh, Mari, instead of using Rouge, instead of using Cindy, so as a basis, we did try to use this setup where I used Anise and Maiden, 30.3 bill, Rapi did 3 bill, I did 11 bill, Anise 8.3, Maiden 6.3. But then I replaced Anise with Ada, and yeah, it's a huge DPS loss. Although Rapi, we did see how it's actually taking into effect that Rapi did more damage thanks to Ada. It's consistently 3 bill instead and 3.5 bill. And same here. I replaced Maiden instead with Ada, 3.5, 3.5. So Rapi did get the benefit from it. And now replacing Anise did make my Ein do less damage. And part of the thing is probably also the infinite ammo. Excuse me. Using Crown and Anise does give infinite ammo, so um, there's that benefit also on that. And so if I put in Anise and Ada instead of like Maiden, my Ein did consistently 11 bill instead of the 9.2 where Maiden was. So there's that. But still, it hasn't beaten the Anise Maiden combo. As you can see, the Anise Maiden has 30.3, and then I put in Ada, tried to replace either Anise or Maiden, and it's just, it's still just weaker. So, unfortunately, uh, right now, Ada is not necessarily a Team 1 electric replacement, but can we see her get used in the other teams in like Team 3, Team 2, Team 3? And likely that's going to be the case on Electric Advantage. So, um, you know, the team 2 on the last electric solar raid technically was Ein Crown, but obviously after that there's been so many new units that came out. There's Maid Mast, there's Siren, there's Mihara, there's Rapi Red Hood that came out ever since the last electric solar raid. So the uh, the solar raid teams are gonna be different this time around. But do we see Ada gonna be used? At this rate, it's a very tough choice, but I mean, she's not like super bad in terms of like buffing, right? So, mm, yeah. But the thing is, like, power creep. At this rate, I don't see it as like crazy game changer, but we could we're probably gonna use her for a little bit for a while on electric raids, but it's not like a probably a super long stay unless we get more out of that mechanic, like maybe the re-enter burst stage 3 or however this thing is. If there's more of this, I could totally see it actually being likely useful, but who knows. There's one thing that we did try to test on, and that was with the this is Iron Advantage team with Miranda, Graves, Snow White, Maxwell, Summer Helm. The issue on this team for me in particular was because my Grave and Snow White was the highest attack. Maxwell was not the second highest attack. So what's happening is whoever Maxwell was buffing, it was buffing both Grave and Snow White because Maxwell only buffs the two highest attack. And so whenever my Maxwell's bursting, she's not getting that buff. Another flaw on this team, technically, even though yes, this is the one of the strongest team right now, and you could even look at this. Technically, it is the strongest. It was the strongest team in this solo raid. This guy did 12.5 bill. I think the highest pars was like 13 bill, from JP dude on this one. And to be fair, yeah, if by Maxwell was the second highest attack, and so that way Snow White gets the buff and Maxwell gets the buff also, from Miranda and also Maxwell's buff, then I think this would perform better. But in my situation, yeah, my Maxwell was not the second highest. But what this allowed me to do was I replaced Maxwell with Ada, and Grave did less damage because she wasn't getting Maxwell's buff anymore. But this one was consistently Snow White and Ada getting the critical rate buff from Miranda Treasure. So if you guys are aware, or some of you are aware, Miranda has a property on her treasure on that skill 2 that gives 85% critical rate. And this critical rate stays until they cast their full burst. And the thing, or until the full burst ends. Real essentially, because it's like, well, actually it's for 1 round. That critical rate stays for 1 round. But the thing is, you can actually set it up for Ada to not attack during her burst, and it will allow her to have critical rate on this skill, because she has a skill in here, right here, this one. The during full burst affects enemies within attack range nearest to the crosshair. This deals 420% final attack as true damage. And what you can do is actually to hold that critical buff from Miranda, and she can continuously crit on this skill too, up until like the last second of the burst. Then you release her burst and show, and then like do that. I'll show like a screen and probably you're probably seeing it on the screen right now how I was like show doing it. But that's one thing that she is good, I guess, because she does have a recovery here, so she can heal to the one that basically bursted. So for the issue with the Snow White Maxwell is it doesn't have a healer, and some people cannot really run it because they sometimes the boss or oftentimes the boss targets the highest attack. So in that situation, then I guess you can like swap in Ada instead, and that would be a nice alternative. But I think like nowadays, I guess we're slowly trending towards more that Helm is the one that goes with this Snow White anyway. For some people that needs a healer, then they will just put Helm instead. So yeah, again, it's like I mean, this is just me scrounging for what could be good for her. Like I core 7 her. I tried to upgrade her the best I can. I max her gears, max her skill, max the cube, max affection, core 7. I tried my best to make her work. Okay, but she just wasn't cutting it. And even if I put her overloads to the same level as my Anise and Maiden. And to be my currently right now, my Maiden has 83 LA, 20 attack, and my Anise is 77 LA, 34 attack, and my Ada has 70 LA and 8 attack. There's a little bit of discrepancy on the little bit of investment, but she's not too far off still from these two, or rather, even if I put her overloads to the same level as Anise or Maiden, at best, we would see like 5 to 10% damage increase. Like that's how I would see it. So even then, after all of that, if you just look at these numbers, she's not really gonna make up like what severely lacking right now. At best, like plus 500 mil. Yeah, it's not gonna make up that for the number one team. So right now, the way I see Ada is she is going to be electric team 2 onwards. Is she's not replacing anything on the team 1, but also at the same time, I guess technically maybe she end up being in the team 1 just because of how we're shuffling the units around, just to make it even across the board on different teams, right? So is she on Ein level? No. Like I mean you saw the Ein DPS, right? Didn't I show it? Ein was doing 11 bill and my Ein was 8113. Again, like that's versus like 70 LA 8, and you're looking at Ada from 11 to 7 bill. Uh yeah. It's not even SR15 Ein. Wait, what's my Ein? I actually don't remember what my Ein was. Yeah. Oh yeah, it wasn't even SR15. Oops. uh, yeah. I mean, to be fair, you could argue that Ein is pure DPS and Ada's like support. Oh, sorry, this was Ada. Sorry. I just miswrite it, but it's Ada was did 7.7 bill here. Yeah. And then he's did 3.8. Yeah. Anyways, that's like the quick observation with Ada. Um, I was a little bit disappointed, but hey, there was a fine print, I guess. Uh, should have clicked this. I guess that was the fine print for this. Um. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways. That's the initial observation for Ada. Um, I think we'll just wait for Jill also on release, and I'm hoping that okay. At this point, I'm just hoping that Jill will do more damage than Ada, and like their synergy together will actually be good. That I think it's gonna be shoehorned into that kind of team building where we would end up like using maybe Rapi Red Hood and then yeah, we use Ada perhaps and then Ein perhaps and then Jill and then I don't know which B2 it is. It could be Crown, it could be Mari, it could be Bunny Aid. Yeah, Jill kit surely is gonna be better, right? Jill or Gil? Okay, all right, chat. We've had enough of these pronunciation thing. All right, we're done. We're done. Anyways, that's gonna be it for now. Um, we'll make a follow up post if we do figure some new things out. But at this point right now, it's a little bit more on the disappointing side. Would I either build Arcana Isabel or Ada? The thing is I feel like Ada's more universal. Arcana's Isabel is a little bit more on their own. But Arcana and Isabel is a pretty strong combo right now, and I could see it actually being used this solar raid actually. The thing is, like, actually, in some of the other neutral solar raids, the Arcana Isabel actually did show up. So, um, so now that there's electric raid, I think it's actually gonna show up for sure. High defense boss for SR. Yeah. So if the boss has only 30k, like the standard solar raid defense, then yeah, true damage is nothing but just a 30% attack boost. But if the boss is like really high defense, maybe then maybe true damage would actually be good. What guys Bogger? I think a lot of people actually invested in Arcana Isabel. We just haven't really gotten the chance to actually showcase it. Trina Scarlet, I think Arcana Isabel is stronger than Trina Scarlet, but it's kind of flipped because like I think both are decent. Both are actually good. Cause Trina actually makes Scarlet relevant again. Yeah, you can use them together also, yeah. But it's gonna be funky because like the question is, do you want Tove plus Arcana Isabel? If you do that, then you're gonna be forced to use Dala as your B2. And then that means that Trina Scarlet is gonna be on a different team. So that's a question of do you want to build a pure shotgun team with like the Tove setup, or if you do Arcana Isabel and Trina Scarlet in the same team, then you're gonna need the B1 CDR. Yeah. Either or could work. The thing is, like, we had so much like electric release since the last electric solar raid, so it's gonna be funny to see how the teams alright are gonna turn out. Anyways, I'm dying. You know, I'm gonna cut it short on the YouTube video. Not much gonna be editing, I guess, but I did recently talked with a video editor, but I'm still planning some things out for that one. Probably not this video. Anyways, that's gonna be it. Just I'll see you guys next time. Uh, I'm dying. Why am I testing for 8 hours on this stupid ass while I'm sick? How the shit I do for you guys, man? Fuck.